Alrighty, we've got a fun build today. This is a Vaal Earthquake Templar using the new uh, Architect of Chaos Ascendancy. And with the Ascendancy, it lets you just easily do infinite Vaal Earthquake. So this is just a random T16 map here, nothing crazy going on. But the main thing I wanted to show off is just how nice it is to play. Because the way this build plays, you press Vaal Earthquake, and then you just dive head first into your packs of mobs and watch them all blow up. And, you know, I've played so many builds where you've got to, like, you're super squishy, and you've got to hang out, you know, way outside the mobs, and, you know, ooh, don't touch me, I don't want to get hurt. And this build is just so fun to do the complete opposite, where you see a big thing of mobs, you just run into it, and then the Vaal Earthquake blows them up. Breaches, great fun. Clearing maps, great fun. And this is just straight Vaal Earthquake. There's no explode or anything like that. That would be the ultimate upgrade to get an explodey chest on here. But yeah, I've been loving this build. It's so much fun to play. So much fun to just smash through packs of mobs. It's been a breeze to level once you get your first Ascendancy point. And you can just go like this pretty much all the way through the campaign, all the way through your basic maps. And yeah, it's just a joy. So this particular build, you might notice I'm using Lightning Warp, which I think is a little interesting. And we'll get into that in a second with how the build goes. But just want to show more of the demo here of running around a map, and kind of the main selling point, the main reason you want to play this build is to blast up maps. I've got some other syndicate thing going on. So yeah, let's hop out of the map and I'll talk about how this build works. So, the main thing about this build is the Templar of the event Ascendancy here for getting these two nodes are the key. So Forbidden Secrets gives you Shepherd of Souls, and then this node here gives you the reduced soul gain duration. So with Vaal Earthquake here, once you get enough souls to use it, then you can run around and it just does a bunch, I think it does, 9 aftershocks. And so what the Shepherd of Souls allows you to do is, if you're in the map like here where we have souls, it lets you save up to 5 uses, right? So each use costs less, but then when I use it once like this, you can see now it's saying I have 2 because it doubles the cost of the Vaal skill. But in practice, for this build, it really doesn't matter at all, because you hit your Vaal Earthquake once and then you run around, and then by the time it drops off, that 8 seconds of the double cost goes away. You've got plenty here. And even if you hit it twice and you're running around and you're like, whoops, I hit it again, you still get plenty of souls. Like, there's plenty of souls in the bank. So it's very comfy, very easy to maintain, just with the this node here. So this is the first node I got, and then got this one second to reduce the soul gain prevention. So you see here, soul gain prevention down to only half a second, which means essentially as soon as I start killing things with the Vaal Earthquake, it's charging itself back up. So maintaining an infinite Vaal Earthquake, super easy with these 2 nodes. The other 2 nodes on the build, it kind of is up to you. I did this, the plus Vaal skills doesn't matter too much, but it gives you a little extra damage. And then doing this to just pay life instead of mana, and then reserving all the mana on auras here. So I think this is probably your best bet. You get a lot of value out of this. But otherwise, you could go this if you want to go further along and corrupt all your gear and get more life. But at least the way I've built this build, using face breakers, I'm running out of resistances really quick, so I didn't want to take this. But really, the gist of this, the main thing to get this running, these 2 nodes, and then you can pretty much do whatever you want. So what I did for this particular build, Perfect roll face breakers was like 10C, so I was like, screw it, let's see if face breakers can do it. And yeah, they can do maps pretty well. I've been doing T16s, just cruising along, lots of fun. That said, the downside of face breakers is then so much of your gear goes into damage. So that's kind of where this build starts to fall off. I did just a normal shaper, or attempted a normal shaper yesterday, and yeah, the sacrificing both your ring slots for damage, your helmet for damage, the amulet kind of damage. This could be damage with the max phys attack damage belt. So many of these so many of these gear slots that should be giving you more defense are just going to damage. So it does start to fall off a little bit with face breakers. I think having just either a big two-hander or even with the shield and the block, just a good one-hander would probably be better. But for leveling, and whoo boy, you can put face breakers on pretty early in the campaign. You can put these rings on at level 30 and get a ton of damage. You just cruise through the campaign. It's a breeze. So yeah, other than using face breakers in the tree here, defensively, tried to go for block. I realized, like I said, using up all these gear slots. So, all right, let's try block and live some of the time. So I do have 80 block on this right now. Yeah, so 80 skill block, 80 attack block. And just got that investment from picking up this shield. I didn't pay much for this, but I was like, all right, it's got decent blocks to start with and some elemental resist, which desperately need. And then in the tree, picking up block here, getting spell block up here, and then going down into the bottom left side here for lots of life, defenses, getting a bunch of rage on hit. Not really investing much into rage, but as you're cruising through maps, it does add up to a little bit, so easy to get a little extra there. Life, then block stuff like I was saying there, and endurance charges. So since we're in the area, getting endurance charges is convenient. And then with this tattoo, melee hits that stun have 5% to fortify, gives me pretty much permanent uptime on fortify when going around in maps. And then alternative to Vaal Earthquake, I've got this Sunder here. So the Sunder skill is, I do recommend having a non Vaal skill available just for like helping to clear and stuff. And so in theory you could just use the normal Earthquake that comes with the Vaal skill, but I've been doing this Sunder setup, and it's kind of nice to have this little extra guy here for support. And this is giving me fortify as well. So starting off boss fights and stuff like that, you hit him with the Sunder to get some fortify. And it actually does decent damage. So this final support, Fist of War, gives it a bit of damage because it's kind of nice to Sunder every once in a while because it gives you a little bit extra range to clear things. But yeah, overall, that's most of the tree for defensively. So, not a ton of life. The gear here, this was like 50, 60C for the 6 link, and, doesn't have life. In fact, it'd probably be better if it didn't have life. I could take the notable point here. So yeah, just basic gear here, basic boots, trying to get movement speed, resists, and then so yeah, the final kind of quirky thing, the fun thing about this build is actually using the lightning warp and doing the duration, reduced duration scaling here. So what the reason for this reduced scaling is it affects your earthquake aftershocks, so that base secondary, not the secondary duration, but the base duration of 1 second, that's the time it takes from planting the aftershock to it actually exploding. So the reduced duration reduces that time, so your aftershocks are much faster, as well as that reduced duration stacks with the soul gain prevention, right? Because in this skill it says modifiers to skill effect duration also apply to soul gain prevention, so that's what helps get this soul gain prevention all the way down to here, half a second. Also using then this weird little amulet, and this is super fun because this gives you further the skill effect duration. So without this, well, I can't use half my gear, but also this whole game goes to 2 seconds. And in theory, like, it probably can play fine. I don't think you really need to do the reduced duration stuff, but it makes it a little snappier, makes it feel better. And then it also enables Lightning Warp. So Lightning Warp, best movement skill in the game, and I guess I'll actually go on the map and Lightning Warp run. I think it's pretty novel to have a attack build like this, but also it's got your spells here to move, and just using the Lightning Warp like this. It's even a little slow if I get my frenzy charges up. I'm sure it'll be a bit faster. But this also is great for EQ, because this lets you get, I've already pretty much cleared this map, just absentmindedly. But, you know, so if you've got packs of mobs, you'll notice mobs tend to be in little circles. So if you're outside the circle, this lets you just boot right into the circle with Lightning Warp. And so all that reduced duration also affects the Lightning Warp duration here as well. So that causes it to be pretty much instant as you warp around. And you don't need the extra support gems. Like traditionally, if you use Lightning Warp without stacking reduced duration in other places, you'd use like less duration, Swift Affliction, to get that duration time here. But with this, I think it's like 92, something like that, % reduced duration, which is plenty to, I thought they had it. Oh yeah, here we go. Skill duration modifier, minus 94%. So that means I really don't, the less duration doesn't really do anything because you're already close to 100% reduced already. So yeah, that's the reason for using this neck, because then we get both the skill speed, or the cast speed, and the attack speed, and the movement speed, because the faster you move, the faster you step, the more of those initial Vaal Earthquakes. You kind of see that chain behind me. So movement speed helps, and then the debuff expire faster. It's kind of testing that out as a defensive layer. It's pretty good. It just cuts everything in half. So like poisons go down to 1 second, ignites get cut in half, all that type of stuff. It doesn't totally solve everything, but it does make it feel pretty good for the most part, and especially a build like this where you can get out and get away from things super quickly. So yeah, this was kind of a fun one, and I did get one off perfect. So I was able to snag a one off perfect, catalyze it up, get tons of speed. The attack speed here, you probably have noticed, using these rings, this was a great classic PoE moment when I bought these rings and I was like, wow, look at all this flat damage. And then I pushed the attack button and you get a big reduced attack time. So one quick thing with that is I do use the mastery here, 5% increased attack speed per enemy in close range. So if all the enemies in this map are basically dead, but if you fab a big pack, that helps speed up that attack time a lot. So personally, I think it's super epic. I think it just looks great. Especially with the floating guy. Actually, it's probably better when he's not floating, because then he looks like a wide-legged stanch. Maybe I'll show that at the end. But yeah, so that's the one downside of, another downside, I suppose, of using phase breakers, is then you use those rings, and you don't have to use those rings, but they're probably the best rings for damage, and then you've got to pay the price attacking very slow. So yeah, other things being used, using haste, the Vaal haste just to get a couple extra gem levels from the Ascendancy, but it doesn't really matter. The haste, skitter bots, and Tempest Shield for more block. Skitter blocks for more damage as well. Originally I was using Flesh and Stone actually for most of the campaign before I leveled up the Enlighten, and then I leveled up the Enlighten and didn't do the math and realized I still need aura nodes to make all these work. If eternally. So I got unlucky when I corrupted this. So if I got in a level 4, I wouldn't need those particular nodes. But anyway, those are the main ones. Haste, same ideas with the necklace, gives us movement speed, attack speed, cast speed. And yeah, when I did that example previously, I wasn't actually showing with haste on, so it's not as slow when he does the initial attack. But it's still a bit slow. So if you didn't do face breakers and you didn't have these rings and you just had a good weapon with good defenses, I think this build could easily pretty much do anything. But for the most part, I really liked stuck with the face breaker thing more as a role play type of thing, and I was quite surprised how well it did. But the headline, the overall gist of this build is that Earthquake's great, Vaal Earthquake's great with being able to do it infinitely, and just your whole map you just run around earthquaking is a breeze. So highly recommend it. This is one of those builds that you can only really do in this league without significant investment, and being able to do it just from the campaign onward, it's a blast. So yeah, I think that's all I really wanted to show. Highly recommend this as a good time, and that's gonna be it. See ya.